We're now going to look at another useful feature, which is particularly useful when making walk cycles, because we're going to come on to walk cycles next, although we probably won't actually use this feature. So the feature is you can save pauses. So you can save whatever pause the character is in and then recover it to use it later. Now, the reason this is commonly used when making walk cycles is because a walk cycle is mostly symmetrical. In usual cases, if the character's in some neutral pause, he's not carrying anything, he's not twisted one way or another, you can just animate what the character is doing. So for example, you can have the pause where his foot is forward and this foot is back. And then if you save that pause and bring it back mirrored, then this foot will be forward in the exact same place and this one will be back in the same place as the other foot. So this saves time when making walk cycles that are symmetrical, because you can just save a pause and mirror it. Another good use case is, let's say you have some specific pause for the hand where he's holding a certain weapon. You might want to just quickly be able to recover that and come back to that. Maybe not even within the same animation, but in some other animation that you might be creating, he might pick up the same weapon and you just want to recover that pause where, for example, his hands are on the grip of a gun. So I'll just move the character into some random pause just so we know that it's working. So let's just say he's slightly crouched down, somewhat pointing forwards. Cool. Perfect pause. Right, so then we can just select all of the controls. And then again in the animation panel, we go to pauses and you get this pop-up, control rig pause pop-up. You want to click on the top left to create pause. And it will ask for an asset name. So I'm just going to say crouching point and then create asset. And now it's saved that. So what you can do is you'll see underneath there's paste pause. So also, I should mention, you can capture the thumbnail. So maybe you can't see clearly what's going on here. So I'll just move the camera around and I've pressed G to hide the controls. Capture thumbnail, and now the new thumbnail is showing that. Or if you're doing some super specific things on like hand controls, for example, you could zoom into the hand, capture thumbnail, and the thumbnail will just be showing the hand. But since this is just a full body example one, I'll just capture the full body. So let's pretend I'm creating a brand new sequence. So I'm just dragging in the mannequin character to sequencer. So it's completely empty. And if we click on this and do paste pause, you'll see nothing happens. But if we select all of the controls that we want to actually change and do paste pause, it fully puts him into that position. So now we can just select DCR mannequin body, press enter, and we've got a keyframe in that pause. If I move some things around, so I've moved in the timeline, and I'll just move his body upwards, and I selected the wrong control. I'll move his body upwards, turn him around. Let's just lower this arm. And we can raise this arm. And now I'll just press enter on CR mannequin body. So he's going from the pause that we had saved, that we just recovered, to some random new pause. And now let's say over here, I want him to go back to this saved pause. We can just do paste pause. Nothing happens. Select everything. Paste pause. Now he's in that position. And you'll see that it's keyframed all the things that have changed between where it was to where it is now. So again, this is optional, but you can just go to the CR mannequin body, keyframe everything. So if you're blocking out an animation, you might want to do it for every single control. You don't necessarily have to do that. And also what I'll show is, let's say he's at this position where it's not in the pause that we've saved, and we want to just apply this to this arm. So what we can do is just select that one control, paste pause, and you'll see that it's set it to whatever we'd saved. So now this one arm will move to that position that's from the crouching point saved pause. Okay, so next what we're going to do, we'll move further in the timeline. We'll select everything and we can tick mirror. So if we click paste pause now, we get the same pause, but it's mirrored. So now it's his left hand sticking out. And if we click on key, and let's just move somewhere else and do paste pause, you'll see it keys every single track. So that just saves us time. We don't have to scroll up and press enter. You can just select key and it'll key every single track. And the reason it's every single track is because I've got every single track selected. So if I just select one control and do paste pause, you'll see that it's only keyed the single control that I had selected. So if I select the full body and I'm staying on the same time frame and doing paste pause with keys still ticked, you'll see that it's added a key for every single control. And in addition to that, what you can do is you can use this value This is basically the same as tweens, so it's blending between the current pose and the pose that we're using, or the one that we're trying to recover from. So I'll just put him into some strange wacky pose that's completely different to all the ones we've got, just so you can see the difference. So I'll have his arms going upwards, his head down, this leg's going to be in the air. Sure. So now what I'm going to do is I'll select everything, and then I'll type 0.5, and then when you see that after you just press enter on that, you'll see that it changes the pose. So 100% is fully the saved pose that we've got. If we drag it down to 0, it will be the original that we had before. And so you can drag it anywhere in between. So it's essentially just tweening between the current pose, whatever that may be, and the crouching point that we've saved. And this select controls, so I'll just deselect everything, and then we click select controls. That will select all of the controls that are saved in this current pose. So just another example, what I'll do is I'll just make some changes to how the fingers are. So I'll just rotate the fingers around a little bit. Not the most realistic pose. And then I'll just select somewhere around the hand. So I've just got all the controls of the hand selected and this wrist control. So now I'm going to do create pose, and I'll call it hand contortionist. I'm not sure if I spelled that right, but then create asset. And we've got that one here. So now I've just deselected all the controls, and I click select controls, and it's selected all of these on this hand. And the reason it's selected all those on that hand is, you guessed it, we have mirror ticked. If I untick that, do select controls, it's selecting all the controls of the hand. So not only can you use this to save and recover poses, you can also use it for selection groups for whatever you might want. So for example, if you keep just keying all of the controls of the fingers, and there's quite a lot to go at, so you know, you can use this one, the green ones, to control the overall finger, but you might be clicking on these individual arrows, making slight tweaks to all of them, and you just want to keyframe all of the things you've changed without keyframing everything of the body and so on. So what you could do is you could just select all of that, create it as a pose, call it whatever you want, and then when you're on this, to get back to that, you can just do select controls, and then I can just press enter, and then we've keyed all those tracks that we've got selected. So rather than having to individually select from here all the way to here, or wherever it was, we can just do select controls, and it selects it for us. So that should come in handy. Useful feature, definitely something that you'll want to use at some point. So it's just something to keep in mind.